Woo, baby love. All right, we're live again. God willing, this works. I did send out a new link. We'll see if people jump on there. Mm.
Did people
It's all,
join it?
hopefully, God willing, someone will. I did. Hopefully, we'll see. They're in the bios on my link. It looks like we have some people that came
Oh,
over.
good.
Thank you for your patience,
Good.
guys. We do apologize about this. We have no control of these wonderful technology things. So I appreciate you guys jumping back on here with us. And we're not even going to keep you, like you said, and hesitating of anything further. So welcome again. Just a quick spill. Thank you again for joining us for On Your Mortality segment for our monthly January get together, have a conversation with your family series. Specifically, we are covering this January a topic of how creating a vision board can help with end of life planning. So this is a super important topic, of course, to both of us, but we are hoping one and the same, that it is an important topic to share with your family and friends as well. And one thing that I want to do is, as we always do, try to have a wonderful expertise guest that joins us to help and assist with that. And this month, I would love for you to assist us with welcoming Mrs. Joelle Anthony, also known as the Grave Woman. So I would love to please share some love with her and encourage her. She has been a great mentor to me from day one, literally, to share that with you guys. But I just want to tell you a little bit about her. And then definitely I want her to just get on here and share all these wonderful jewels that she has, so we can actually also get on with our Sunday and apply some of these great things as well. So first and foremost, I think just even sharing one of the things that jumps out that I've learned from both Joelle, but some others professionals, but specifically she's a walking and living testimony of this, but confirming that death is inevitable, and that she specifically helps families in a peacefully plan and prepare for the passing of their loved ones, both financially and fundamentally. She specializes in professionally and compassionately creating non-traditional, alternative, and creative funeral service, burials, memorialization, at the time of need and or in advance. That pretty much sums up in a small picture of who exactly the Grave Woman is, but in more details, just sharing who she is. Mrs. Joelle Anthony, also known as the Grave Woman, is a licensed funeral director. She's an insurance agent. She's a sacred grief practitioner. She also specializes in helping guiding individuals and families, business and governmental agencies navigate uncomfortable and difficult conversations about death, dying, end of life, funeral and burial planning. It was in York. So she was raised in York, in, is it Beaufort? Is how you
Beaufort,
pronounce
South
it?
Carolina.
Beaufort, South Carolina. Sorry. Um, Sorry, she was born in York, but raised in Beaufort, South Carolina. The heart of, is it Gullah? And in
Yes.
the
Geechee.
Gitchi
Yes.
culture,
Yes.
spiritually, the sacredness of death, caring, and those in transition. The deceased and supporting my community through grief and always been a huge part of her life. Her professional approach is deeply rooted in the ancient and ancestral wisdom passed down from generations to generations. During her decade of service in funeral service industry, she has fashioned her unique background and professional experiences into a caliber of styled care, comfort, and guides through the service and towards the healing and journeys of grief. It is her life work to educate everyone in the regardlessness of the faith, race, age, status, and death and or grief of sacredness, transformations, and the journeys of human beings. So if you guys can please just give me a round of applause and just welcome Joelle, the Grave Woman, here to On Your Mortality. She is no stranger to it. She is a very big support of the movement and being a part, hence one of the reasons having a great opportunity to bring her on. But I want to give her the floor, and I also just want to introduce. So today's focus is assisting with us conquering our fears. We're doing that every day. We're talking about different things, but it's no different. But also, even to say, We're just starting off in 2022. While we've gotten almost a month into 2022, there is so much more time that we have, and we want to make great use of it. But also, like you said, taking an opportunity to say that this is the time of the year where it's a great opportunity, just like we're making vision boards and we're aspiring about all these great things, the vacations, the homes, the families, the all the great things that definitely we're aspiring and dreaming about. There's something that a lot of times we forget to add on there. And we forget to add, how are we protecting it? We forget to add on there, well, what happens once those chapters are completed? What happens of all of the family that we're creating in these, immaculate things that we're preparing for? How does those things continue? How does that convert into what we call generational wealth? How are those things into what we talk about as being a legacy? So I thought it would be a great, great thing to make sure that we have a professional that day in and day out is working on creative ways to help us shift the narrative, specifically in our households, of what it is to create in the life planning. So at this time, I want to definitely give the floor to the grave woman again, Joelle Simone Anthony, and thank you again for your time. So if you had to let us know about what it is about, again, vision boards and or end of life planning, what would be some jewels that you could leave with us of helping us to create those things?
Sure thing. And first and foremost, thank you for having me, Amina. I really appreciate you allowing me to come onto your platform and share with your audience. It really means a lot. The first thing I would say about vision boards is that vision boards are all about intention and creating a visual tool for what it is that we want to manifest in our reality, right? A lot of times when we think about vision boards, we think about the type of car we want to drive, the type of house we want to live in, the type of relationship we want to have. But I think it's almost genius that you're approaching it from this perspective, because we as a community need to manifest a different way to talk about death and dying. For whatever reason, this seems to be a difficult conversation for a lot of people to have, specifically in our community. And one of the tips that I give just about every client or family that I work with is to utilize family photo albums, right? There's something about family photos when we start going through these pictures. Like right now, I have a photo of my uncle right here, right? And he and his wife are on a cruise. They're enjoying themselves. But when I look at that photo, I see more than this cruise. I see my uncle who I miss, and my mind immediately goes to his funeral and what stood out about that funeral and what I liked about it, the things I didn't like. So when we pull out that family photo album, it's an opportunity to say, you know what? I really want to do this differently. And if you're a listener and if you're a proactive thinker, you're going to start to take mental notes. How cool would it be to take this photo and then start to build a vision board, cutting out pictures of, the things that I liked about his funeral? He had beautiful flowers. Everybody had nice things to say about him. He was, we had a butterfly release at his funeral, and putting those things on a board to reflect maybe some of the things that I want. And not even just the funeral and burial aspect, but the end of life healthcare needs that many people are having to learn to navigate. Do I want to be in an assisted living home? Do I want to be at home? Do I want to be responsible for bathing myself or not bathing myself? Things like that. And I mean, just putting those images on a vision board, it does something in our brain. And I'm not a scientist, I'm not going to try to explain what it does, but it's a conversation point. And how awesome would it be if we had two or three, or maybe four or five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 of our family members sitting around having that conversation? And not just building a vision board for our funeral experience, but what we want our family legacy to look like moving forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's interesting that you did share that, like you said, that you are not a scientist or a doctor, but you are a um, funeral service professional. And with you being a funeral service professional, one of the things that you are versed and very educated in is what it is about grief, what it is about mourning, what it is about the transition of a loved one. Even just sharing a little bit more, because you definitely hit some great parts as far as family photos, visualizing, having conversations. Are you listening when loved ones, when we are having conversations, and what do they mean? But you also talked about something vital as far as, again, are you thinking to say that at some point in time in your life, if you ever get to the point that you can't care for yourself, how do you want that to look? Like you said, when it gets to the point and say, hey, if for some reason you are needing to become dependent upon someone, what does that look like? Like you said, do you want that to be from a facility? Do you want that from to be from a care of your home? But also diving in and talking about what exactly the power of a vision board is. And why do we separate that from being any different? Why is it motivational? Why is it powerful for us to create vision boards about things like new companies, jobs? Why is it motivational for us to talk about, like you said, or make vision boards and speak into existence marriage and children and, big houses and boats and, vacations, but we are not speaking into existence, like you said, things like generational wealth. How do we ensure that those houses are actually being passed down to our children? How do we ensure that your children or family members are aware that if there is any point in time in your life, why isn't that motivational or used as the same tool to use the same encouraging method? What do you feel is the difference?
I think it's two things. The first thing is that we don't want to feel like we're manifesting death, but it's guaranteed. It's
Correct.
100% guaranteed. You don't have to manifest it. You don't have to go looking for it. You don't have to create it. It's coming for you. I mean, that's a fact.
There you go.
The
No
second
one's
thing
making it
is
out
that,
alive.
yes. The second thing is that I think a lot of times when I talk to people, they get overwhelmed by the financial aspect. But what I try to do to comfort everyone is tell them there's a difference between pre planning and pre funding. Those are two totally different things. And even if you, let's say you're an individual or your family member is an individual who maybe just does not have the money to go out and get a life insurance policy, maybe your health won't allow you to qualify for a large face amount on an insurance policy. You still have autonomy over what happens at the end of your life. You still get to choose whether you want to be cremated, whether you want to be embalmed, whether you want to be in a wood casket or a metal casket. You can let someone know those preferences. And even if you can't afford to get that life insurance policy, having conversation about those things will give your family members peace of mind when it's time for them to make those decisions. Because even if they can't afford to get you exactly what they wanted, they would know, okay, I didn't do everything this person wanted, but I did what I could.
Or maybe, like you said, that's, like you said, even an opportunity of just shifting the narrative of the conversations of death and dying being yet a fearful thing rather than something, like you said, something that when it ever does happen, we are more so prepared, so that
Right,
we're not leaving our loved ones in some form of distraughtness, in addition to the sadness that definitely
right,
comes along, like you said, with losing someone. But even, like you said, bringing to the point where the tool, or like you said, the creativity of using a vision board is a tool that creates, no matter what is on there, but it creates, like you said, the manifestation of those things happening.
right,
In encouraging also, like you said, to share more, that adding these things to and or creating a separate vision board, we're not asking or encouraging you to literally put on there, hey, I want to die in 2022. That's not what
no,
we're encouraging
not
you
at
to do.
all.
We're encouraging you to do, to say, what are some of the things that you can include each year on your vision board that will make things less traumatic, difficult, and or harder for you and or your family whenever that time comes. So
Right,
things like encouraging you to add generational wealth to your vision board, to add life insurance and or some form of finances or conversation. Like you said, having that conversation. If you are someone who cannot afford life insurance, that's a thing. Having a conversation with your family so they're prepared that they too could possibly pay life insurance for you, or maybe assist with putting some funds to the side. And or like you said, for you, putting on there more so to just say, how do I identify a goal of being able to financially prepare for my end of life? So would you say that that is the purpose of, or encouraging a little bit different of utilizing that vision board to shift the conversations more so
You know what?
in reference?
Let's take money out of it completely, right? A
Okay.
lot of times when we're flipping through magazines or searching online, and I know you had some visual tools, photos, we see things that we like, right? If I'm going to take the time to cut something out of a magazine or print a picture offline, it's going to be something that resonates with me, right?
Correct.
That's going to help with personalization, not just at the funeral, but towards end of life. Certain colors that make you more comfortable as you're transitioning, certain music that makes you more comfortable. For example, maybe someone puts a picture of Michael Jackson on their vision board because it was always their dream to meet Michael Jackson. Unfortunately, we know that can't happen, but they just love Michael Jackson. How powerful would it be for your family to see that photo and know that to make you comfortable as you're transitioning, if you're blessed with that opportunity, they can play Michael Jackson music and feel like they're contributing to your peace of mind or peace of
Yeah, yeah.
body during your transition. Or, for example, I always kind of pick a color theme for my vision board. Let's say something happens to me, I'm in an accident or something, and my husband to be happens to come across or see my vision board because they're posted everywhere in my apartment and say, you know what, my wife really likes the color gold as she's transitioning or in her hospital room, or even as I'm selecting her clothes or the colors that are going into the flowers for her arrangement, I'm going to incorporate gold because that was something that she liked. And just giving your family that peace of mind to say, you know what, I knew this because I either saw it on a vision board. I think a vision board also serves as a way for us to communicate. A lot of times people have feelings. Maybe they're carrying hurts or they're struggling with something. But when we create our vision boards, it's almost like our imaginations get to run free. And a lot of things subconsciously come out on those vision boards. So maybe it's things that you can't say to your family member that you just, for whatever reason, there's an emotional block or a communication block. Maybe people don't have the best relationships with their loved ones. But using that vision board as a tool to not only tell you what you want at the end of life, but to tell your side of the story.
Sorry.
How much peace could that bring to maybe a daughter who has a strained relationship with her mother? You know,
Absolutely.
people, I've seen people use vision boards as apologies, as proposals, as business, ideas. Not only that, as we were saying at the beginning of the other stream, a lot of times as death care professionals, we don't talk about the aspect of transition and what goes into someone transitioning. You can use a vision board to say, these are the medications that I take daily. These are pictures of things. I know whenever someone sends me to the store or I send someone to the store, I always send a picture of something, or a lot of times send a picture of something, because I want them to get the brand that I want. I want them to get the
Right.
size I want. I want them to get the flavor I want. So it's just almost like a non legal advance directive. It could be used in that way.
Absolutely. And like you said, of using a creative way to literally just consistently dilute fear, literally demise it, diminish it, get rid of it. Like you said, having open conversations in a creative way, or even like you said, to in a non-creepy way, because people, think about it. But even, to share that the end of life planning is not just about, like you said, creepy things, but rather positive things to a plan. It's a gift. It's a
It is.
structure. It's a guide. This is again us creating a little different of a niche of saying, okay, you're not at the point where you're ready to sit down and write a will. Baby steps, okay?
Baby
Let's get
steps.
to that. Even like you said, that is something that you can put on your vision board. But again, like you said, shifting the conversations that just as important it is if you aspiring to be a millionaire, it is just important for you to aspire that this millionaire's legacy will continue. And
Right.
even I think just sharing that again, these are tools, things like end of the life planning, having a plan, having these conversations with your family to actually ensure that you do actually have a legacy that continues. Good afternoon, Polo. Thanks for joining us. But literally, like you said, in order, I think that a lot of times in our communities, we are misinformed that because we have children, because there are, beneficiaries or things such as that, that there's automatically a legacy that is left or created. There can be a reality that you have children or have husbands, have wives, have additional family, and your legacy will not continue because there's a lot of things that weren't put into place or things weren't written down, in reference for those things to appropriately, legally, and things of those factors to be passed down to each other. But like you said, even simply having the conversation while it's something that's more comfortable to me and you. Even just I recall a time that there were years ago that my mother and her church, they did a very interesting um, uh, project at church where they were writing their obituary. At this time,
Mhm.
I wasn't in the field of work that I was in. At that time, it did make me say, what is this and what is that? But to fast forward and say where I'm at now, I think that is the most brilliant thing that my mother and or her church could have done, and even encouraging other people to do so. Also to say to you that, we a lot of times believe that things are going to be a certain way automatic, and that's not how it goes. We can definitely do things to try to encourage them to go certain ways, but things have to be a certain way in order to make those happen. I'm sure that you would agree. But something like you said, of just even like to say, if you leave here today or tomorrow, what would someone say about you?
Right.
That is
Right.
what your life story, your obituary is. But not all of us are fortunate enough that we even have someone to be able to put that in writing.
Right.
Sometimes we're not even, everyone's situation is a little different. We might not even have anyone that ends up being the person that knows your life story to be able to share that. But letting you guys know, it is not out the norm that both, I'm sure, for Joelle and myself, we have experienced where there are families that are asking, hey, can you write this obituary for us?
Yes. 100%. And I want to touch on something that you said about
Sure.
legacy. Um, there's a big difference, and I don't think a lot of people realize this. We use the word legacy. An estate is what has to happen. An estate is a legal thing. A legacy is a choice.
There you go.
So why
Wow.
not, since you have the choice, make the choice to decide what your legacy looks like? And a legacy doesn't always look like a big house or a big car or a lot of land or a lot of money. Legacy can look like, this is what this person taught me. This is what this person instilled in me. And
Wow.
creating a vision board around what your core values are could be a beautiful reminder and keepsake to your family that this is what I've given to you.
Absolutely. And like you said, even giving to you the gift of peace and sanity, giving you the gift of peace and guidance to say that you have a life, I have a life. Who am I to assume that you will be able to, like you said, to capture all of that, to do everything? Everyone's a little different. I can say, like you said, even just prior to, even just being a professional in the industry, but to know, like you said, if I'm asking someone to help me or go to the store, I'm also wanting things to kind of look or be a certain way. And the only way to do that is to share what exactly or how exactly you're wanting it to be. Like you said, aspiring and saying, hey, I would like a very intimate service for my family because I would not want my family to be overwhelmed. Even one in the same of saying, considering if you are someone that might be in the public eye and things such as that, your family, and you may know that your family might not be something like that. So creating a plan of how your family could be comfortable and one in the same of you still being able to pay respect to maybe the larger crowds or things like that that you may have had interaction with. Like you said, speaking what generational wealth is. Speaking what it is of when in fact someone transitions, what it is to handle someone's arrangements, to see what it is, like you said, to be know what it is to be a beneficiary of someone or a power of attorney of someone. But literally just starting off and bare minimum to say that one in the same, your end of life, it's no different of dreaming of that compared to dreaming of the life that you're living. Your end of life is a part of your life. We try to separate them because, like you said, it's like that doom that we think the end means it's over. For me, I kind of look at it as a goal and a saying like, hey, I don't know how long I have, but in this time that I have, what is it that I can accomplish? What is it that I can
Yes.
do? What else is it that I can leave for my family so that it's not recreated, but yet maybe continued of that manner? Thank you, Ms. Zuma. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, your creativity, and we're hoping that it's something that you will be able to take back as well. But like you said, just utilizing a saying and sharing. I do want to share this helpful thing that we came across. On a reading that we were doing online, just checking in and doing some research about vision boards and end of life planning. And one of the things that it did share that no different than like how you're aspiring, like you said, rather it be careers and family, it's one of the same and end of the light. But like you said, it's a mental thing. Looking at something every day is what reminds you of things that you're wanting to do. And even like you said, of maybe even shifting the narrative of speaking into end of life in a more positive manner and saying, hey, this is a gift for my family, this is a legacy of my family. Even like you said, of reverting back and holding our names, our family names, our family history, at the regard that it actually is. We come from kings and queens and grandparents, and we are the generation to simply say we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. We are.
Right.
And continuing, like you said, to walk in those lights, part of in the light, we always forget it. So we are asking, what can we do? Like you said, or challenging you to be creative, and basically save your families as much as you can during the times that you are here. So while I'm pulling that up, I think, Joelle, this might be a good time. So heads up for you guys, we're not encouraging you guys to do things that we're not doing for ourselves. So what we thought would be great is today we're simply just leaving you guys with some tips for you guys and us. And what we're going to do is we're all going to be participating in a project together. And what we're
Yes.
asking is that within the next week, we are asking you guys, we are still within the great timing of the beginning of the year. This is the great time. Again, we are saying if you've already made vision boards, we're asking you to add to your vision boards. If you have not, we're asking you to create with us. And we're also asking you to add some different things that you've never added before. And we're
Yes.
asking you to add things that are pertaining to your end of life and your goals that you have, the goals you have for yourself, the goals you have for your families, and things like that. So some cool things, three cool things that myself and Joelle kind of just, came up with. One of them, I definitely know it's probably solely to my heart, but let's start off. So the first thing is that encouraging, one of the things to speak into existence of the cycle of life is also encouraging generational wealth, but also specifically to build it. This is something that you have to build. It doesn't just appear. So a lot of times we don't even realize that the things that we already have on our vision board are things to encourage generational wealth, but we're not saying it. We're not telling our children, our nieces, our nephews, we're not saying, hey, we're doing this for you. We're doing
Right.
this for your children. And like you said, that is the beginning of end of life planning that we start off with. We think that end of life planning is just saying, hey, I want to be buried and or I want to be cremated. That's actually one of the most minute, like you said, probably parts of those factors, and probably one of the most minute that somebody will actually be able to decide for you. And then something else is this wind pill, and it's actually in the middle of it. It says estate planning. But just as Joelle just hit right on the nose, estate planning is a big Barney bag. And there's so many things that go in this Barney bag. But this is why it's called a plan. You don't have to do it all at one time. You
Nope.
don't have to hit everything at one time. But it gives you the creativity to plan for you and your family. And again, how you want it. Like Burger King, have it your way. You can if you write it down. So some of the things that are on here, it talks about assets, it talks about laws. It talks about liabilities. It includes death. It includes heirs. What are your heirs? Who is it going to? How does your legacy continue? And it also lists on here expectations. The key is, what is your expectation of your life? Just going on and continuing. This is why for Own Your Mortality, the number one slogan is that we are living our best lives. And in turn, if we live our best lives, we're going to in turn die our best death because we have
Yes.
done those different steps while we're living to ensure that our family and everything continues. The last thing that's near and dear. This is a hearse, guys. You guys know that I'm near and dear a hearse, but this is something that's interesting and funny that I share with my family, and it's something that, as I say, you have to share. This is not only a hearse, guys, but this is a sports car hearse. This is a Jaguar.
I
So
love
as
it.
we laugh, even it's something that we share with our friends and even say, just like you guys point out and say, hey, that's the car that I want to be driving in 5 years. That's the new pair of shoes that I want to be, saving for. Why are we not talking about, like you said, how do you want to go out in style? You talk about how we come into the world in style. We plan these elaborate baby showers and welcome life in. Why don't we welcome life transitioning out, which is then also making room for new life that's coming in? So those are three things that off the bat we just shared that we will be including in our vision boards, but also challenging you guys to include and or add a few things. I think this would be a great time. The people who are on here, if you can drop in the chat, what are some things that you guys would be able to include on your vision board? You're in the life. When the first thing that comes to your mind, how if you had the choice to make things be how you want them to be, what are some things that you would include? What would be on your vision board?
For me,
And
honestly,
Noel, while they're jumping in and writing in the chat as well, what are some things that first come to your mind that you're going to be putting on yours?
you know what? I think I've made up my mind that I want to be cremated.
Yes.
And what I want is for my family to go on a trip every year for my birthday to celebrate my that this is my legacy. I want you guys to be able to go on a trip. I want to have the money there for you to do that for however many
Wow.
years. And I want you to scatter my ashes in
Every
each of those
location.
places that you guys go together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that's
And I was
dope.
thinking when you were talking that if we really think about it, just about every obituary we put together has a vision board in it, whether people realize it or not, in the form of the photos. Those
Wow.
are people's visions, what they put their energy and their essence into for their lives. Pictures of their families. You very rarely see pictures of people by themselves in the obituary, except for on the cover.
Wow, that's so interesting that you shared that because even like you said, what it comes down to, like you said, personalizing. I'm sure you can share that there's been times where I mean it's anywhere of hey, include a PlayStation remote control or hey, his favorite, they were a rapper or they loved music or they loved to sew, they loved cars. And like you
Right?
said, even just like you said, the service itself, your life celebration is a reflection of your story in your life.
Yes.
Who better, who better to be a part of that planning than yourself?
Right. I've seen
Who
people
better?
like they've been in love with space, right? And
Yeah.
their final thing that they wanted was to be sent off into space. And guess what? Their families made it happen.
Absolutely.
And when I went to New Mexico to participate in a space burial, there was a family there. Unfortunately, the young man committed suicide. He didn't tell his
Wow.
family he wanted to go to space. Do you know how they came up with that idea for him?
How?
That he had Star Wars stuff all over his room.
Oh,
So those
wow.
images gave his family that peace of mind in having his remains sent up in space.
Wow.
So, I
Wow.
mean, pictures are powerful. A picture
Pictures
is
are
worth a thousand
powerful.
words,
They tell a
literally.
story. There you go. They tell a story. And that's why, even like you said, that is our purpose of introducing and challenging you for even again for 2022 to step outside of the box. It's no different than us saying that whatever we need to do to begin to start having these conversations with our family members and our friends, whatever we need to do to start changing the narrative to make these experiences that we're going to have in life, it's nothing that we can do, literally. And if there is, please let myself and Joelle know. I don't know if I necessarily want to do it, whatever it is to prevent, but I'm curious to know whatever there is, options there are, like you said, for that to be that death is not inevitable and that's something at some point in time. But also, like you said, having these conversations and utilizing to put these things to rest to say that no, there's nothing that you can do or the environments that we are creating. We are not manifesting for your time to fast track and for you to leave us. What we are manifesting is that we are no longer going to be burdens on our family. We're no
Right.
longer going to allow generations after generations after generations about not knowing what to do. The average person does not know what to do when in fact a loved one passes away. And it's continuing to create traumatic experiences for our family. This is why we fear death. This is why we're scared. Rather it be, like you said, a negative experience that happened in a funeral home, a negative experience, like you said, of your loved one transitioning, and you're not educated, you're not aware of the experiences that would experience with healthcare providers, knowing what it is, being knowledgeable to know that a lot of times when your family is going into different assisted living facilities or rehabs and things like that, families have to be present. They have to ask questions. There is some additional support that is available and liaisons for families. So these are what we are charging you and encouraging you to place on your vision board. We're encouraging you,
Yeah.
like you said, to tell your story through pictures.
Not only that, I mean, you just hit something that is a reality for a lot of people. Think about how many nursing homes and hospitals have been on lockdown because of COVID, and the layer of trauma and additional complexity that adds to an already stressful situation, or the amount of funeral homes that are simply overwhelmed and unable to utilize time sitting with the family for 4 and 5 hours to figure things out. I don't know about you, but when I was working during COVID, it was in and out. We need to know what we need to get to do the best that we can in the next 2 hours and get this person buried in the next 2 days because we simply don't have the capacity to sit here for 4 hours.
You don't have the capacity and it's unsafe at this particular time.
Yes.
So we are asking you to help us, but yet help your families. It starts within home. It starts with creating to say, what is it that you want? What does that look like? But then also, like you said, excuse me, changing the narratives again of saying that this is a privilege and an honor to transition our loved ones, literally. And when I say that, of saying that your grandmother, my grandmother, or even other people's loved ones who have been a part of our lives, and at some point in time they will transition. It's a privilege and honor to be able to tell their stories. How do you tell their stories? How do you want someone else to tell your story? How do you share your story that will again ensure that someone else is definitely experiencing something different? So guys, we do, we have been on here. A great opportunity. We wanted to just give you guys a quick opportunity to just share some of the things that you will be including on your vision board. Again, we are also, while you are dropping those things in there, we are again asking and reminding you that within a week's time, we are asking you by next Sunday and or before, we are asking you to create a vision board and or add to your vision board. And we are asking you to include some things about your end of life specifically. Tell us. And again, this is no different. Just like, we aspire about what our dream jobs are going to be or what our dream cars are going to be. What would your dream service look like? What would your dream look like that if you transition, how would you want to leave your family? What would you want your family to still be able to do, even with you not here? Conversations of those are what we're asking you to include, but again, include it in a different light. We are asking you again to just continue to be a part of the environments that we are shifting the narrative within our households and our communities to have these conversations. We are asking that once you do complete your vision boards, that you are tagging Own Your Mortality and the Grave Woman. We want to see, we are wanting to be a part, again, also just taking in, full, advantage of, like you said, we do know that things are a little bit different currently. Right now, we're not able to get together and do these things in our space. We are not going to allow that to stop us. We have technology. We are able to tap into each other, whether it be our homes and our workplaces, and share these things. And also, like you said, not using it as an excuse, that we are trying to do something every single day to be a part and to make these some better, opportunities and or experiences for us. So I want to take the time to thank the Grave Woman for joining us today. You have shared a great plethora of information. I thank everyone that has joined us today, also hanging in there with us with our little technical difficulties, but we always make a way to kind of come back and, straighten things out. And, we can't worry about the things we can't control, but we can control our end of the life plan. We are asking you to join in with us and be a part of this change and shifting. And we look forward to seeing you post your vision boards. And we too will be posting ours. So we
Yes.
look forward to you. We're wishing you a great Sunday. We're also wishing you a great week ahead. We're also sending a lot of love. We're sending love, Joelle, to you and your family. I'm sending love to my family that is out there, my friends. I'm also sending love to people near and far. We're
Yes.
all going to experience the end of life at some point in time for ourselves, our loved ones. A lot of people are on here. We're all experiencing things and we're not talking about it. So we just want to let you know that we hear you, we see you, we're loving with you, and we're also preparing together. So things will be a lot different. So we thank you for joining us again, and we wish you guys a great Sunday, and we'll be in contact with you this week.
Thank you, Amina.
Thank you. Happy vision boarding.